Already after only 3 races in the season, we're seeing clear leaders in all 3 of the championships. Raikkonen's leading the driver's title by quite some way, Ferrari are dominating the constructor's title, and in the national F1 battle, Britain are quite a way behind the leaders Finland. All this has annoyed the double World Drivers' Championship holder and the reigning Drivers' Championship holder, Lewis Hamilton. Despite having a very successful season last year, this season has been met with incidents, strategy errors from the team on the option tyres. Do you know what he does after 1 lap? Goes right back into the pits. And I can tell you that he does pit for the prime tyres. This is his 3rd stop of the race. And generally lots of events that haven't gone in his favour. All this meant that in Bahrain, the 4th race of the season, during practice, the pressure boiled over for both Hamilton and the newfound leader Kimi Raikkonen.
It's just not in their divine right to bully their way through that traffic. They have every right, all the other drivers have the right to be in that position. They had an orderly effect and they bullied their way through it. What the stewards do, I have no idea.
So with all of the pressure mounting already in the season, and at one of the toughest circuits for the drivers they'll be racing at all year, we could be in for an interesting and heart-fought season, and even an interesting Bahrain Grand Prix, coming up right now. So here we are for the 4th race of the season around Bahrain, and here we are for the qualifying report, so let's get into it. The first qualifying session here in Bahrain saw Button initially go out on 2 laps, which eventually placed him in 16th place come the end of the session. So right at the end of the session, Jenson put on a second set of option tyres to go on one last flying lap to get him out of the drop zone. And in the end he set a much better lap time on the second option tyres to not only get through to Q2, but also knock out his teammate while doing it. With Button just making it out of the drop zone, the cars eliminated from Q1 were the 2 Manners, of which Will Stevens was the quickest driver, Maldonado in 18th after a gamble went wrong, as the man who qualified 5th in China only set a lap time on the prime tyres which weren't enough to get him through to Q2. Marcus Ericsson and Fernando Alonso were the last 2 drivers to be eliminated, with Fernando Alonso the quickest of the 2. Q2 is when the McLaren Honda was finally put in its place, as Button went out on only 1 flying lap at the end of the session to secure him his 11th place, which is very impressive considering it is a McLaren Honda and they have struggled quite a lot so far this season. The other drivers eliminated were Romain Grosjean with a disappointing 15th place finish for the Lotus team, which is really aiming higher than that. Sainz is in 14th, Nasser's slightly ahead of his teammate in 13th, Max Verstappen and the other Toro Rosso is 12th, showing that as both Toro Rossos were eliminated in Q2, this track in its high-speed nature really doesn't favour the Toro Rosso and obviously the Renault engine, which has a lack of power. With Button, as previously mentioned, finishing in 11th and the highest person to be eliminated that session. These eliminations left Q3 to be a Noah's Ark affair, as the cars finished 2 by 2 in terms of their respective teams. So Q3 ended with the 2 Force Indias the slowest in the session, but Perez just getting the edge over Hülkenberg. The Red Bulls were next with Kvyat the quickest of the 2, then the 2 Williams with Massa ahead, then it was the 2 Ferraris led by Vettel, and finally the Mercedes were able to get back onto their dominant performance and qualify in a 1-2 position, much like we saw in 2014, but this time with Lewis Hamilton taking pole position for the 2015 Bahrain Grand Prix. Okay, so here we are on the grid under the lights of Bahrain, and obviously under the night sky, because now Bahrain ever since 2014 has been a night race, and as you can see, the 2-stop strategy starting on the option tyres. We got a free tyre choice because we didn't make it into Q3. We're going to start on the option tyres because if you start on the primes you get such a bad getaway, because you know there's less traction and you know there's less grip to propel you off the start, and see you can lose a ton of places, but the lights are out. And away we go, and we've got Hülkenberg just ahead of us, Verstappen just behind, although Verstappen is now actually just past us. So we're down from 11th into 12th, and actually into 13th, because there was a Sauber there, I believe, of Felipe Nasr, and we dived it down the inside of a load of cars. And actually, despite the fact we've done that, Hulkenberg is still just ahead of us. So actually, Button and Hulkenberg have both dived down the inside of some of the cars in front, and Hulkenberg is still just ahead of us. But now we're going to give Hulkenberg a taste of his own medicine, and apparently it's a yellow flag, and Hulkenberg's moved out of the way. So let's have a look at this. So Hulkenberg just moves out of the way just because we're there, and I don't quite understand why. As you can see, we can see it again. So we come down the inside of Hulkenberg, no one touches him, no one goes near him. I left him enough room, and he just runs wide. Now here's the interesting thing, is that was a yellow flag situation apparently. I don't really quite know why. But Ricciardo, as you can see, passed Perez now. Now technically, he passed Perez under what was apparently yellow flag conditions, and that meant Ricciardo actually got a 5-second time penalty, which is very harsh. It was not deserved at all, but that's the way it goes, and it's unfortunate really how Hulkenberg caused a yellow flag and this and that, but what can you do? Ricciardo is going to get past us. I think he'll get past us any second now. Obviously the Honda engine is woefully underpowered compared to the Renault engine, or compared to any Formula 1 engine, and as you can see, Ricciardo's got past us. Now technically we're still in 7th because Ricciardo isn't 5 seconds ahead of us, but to all intents and purposes, with 25 laps to go, Ricciardo is going to pull it away from us dramatically. Although we do actually make it move down the inside, and I think we've just about made it stick there actually. Now that, I was not expecting that to work. So as you can see, we're right behind Ricciardo in the slipstream, and we make the move, not expect it to work, because, you know, I didn't want to lock up, so I run wide. But Ricciardo, I don't quite know what he did. I think he might have done what Hulkenberg did. But it doesn't matter, because now Ricciardo's going to get past us definitively. Because, well, it depends. Unless we have DRS, we might... Well, we've lost the place. No, if we don't have DRS, that means Ricciardo does, and that's it. He's going to go off into the distance. He's going to pull out 5 seconds easily on us. And now, we got a replay from Perez. Now, this is a funny one, to be honest, because as you can see, Perez just runs wide, does exactly what Hulkenberg does, and actually Hulkenberg just passes him. But why the drivers have been doing that this race, I don't know really. But anyway, yeah, so here's Lewis Hamilton in the lead of the race with Sebastian Vettel just behind, and I think you can predict what's going to happen. What's going to happen is Vettel is actually, he's going to come down the inside of Hamilton, and now Hamilton, is he going to try and make a move down the inside? No, he's going to try and hold it around the outside, try and do the switchback move. Didn't work, so Vettel is now in the lead of the race. Brilliant for the Germans, not so good for the Brits. And also in terms of Hamilton's title charge, really isn't too good for him, but is good for Vettel's, because both drivers are in the running for the title at the minute. Now, as you can see what we're doing, we pitted on the end of lap 7. So basically, the team wanted us to go to lap 10. But the tyre degradation around this track was appallingly bad. It was bad in China, but this was a new level of bad. The tyre degradation was horrible. You know, even on lap 7 we were losing a lot of time. And I thought I'd be the only one to do a 3-stop strategy, because we usually have been, but Hulkenberg actually came in with us and is right behind us. So actually, Button and Hulkenberg, we'll see if we can make this work, because obviously we'll be on the pace for longer, we'll be quicker than most of the cars ahead for more of the time. And as you can see, Will Stevens is doing his best to get, well, I was going to say he's doing his best to get out of the way, but then we can't run wide, so he just ends up holding us up accidentally. And now let's hope Will Stevens, the fellow Brit, can hold up Hulkenberg just like he held up Nasr last episode, but unfortunately Hulkenberg got right up behind Stevens on the start-finish straight, so DRS, Mercedes engine, Force India aerodynamics, there's nothing Stevens could do to prevent the move from happening there, apart from by causing a massive crash. So now on to end of lap 9, start of lap 10, and we're in 17th, but now all the cars are doing the 2-stop strategy, which I believe is everyone apart from us and Hulkenberg. Now pit, apart from Alonso, who is actually just out of this because we're in 10th, and Alonso actually hasn't pitted yet because Alonso started on the prime, so he did a very odd strategy, and Kvyat actually, who was just in the pits then, we've just passed. So we've passed Kvyat, and Alonso, we should pass him because he'd be on the prime tyres, so once he comes into the pits, we should definitely pass him. And that means at the minute this 3-stop strategy is looking like it's going to work, because we're going to pass Alonso here and now, and we've actually retained our 8th place, but better than that, well, from Hulkenberg's point of view, Hulkenberg's gone one better. because he's actually passed or jumped, you know, both Red Bulls by doing a free-stop strategy. And as you can see, lap 14 already, we need to go into the pits again. And as you can see, Hulkenberg on the mini-map is actually holding up the cars behind. So not only was I losing time due to the tyre wear, so is Hulkenberg apparently. Now I don't know whether this was just the setup of both Buttons and Hulkenberg's car, or whether tyre degradation was just shocking here. But it didn't seem to affect the other cars as badly as it did me and Hulkenberg, which is odd. But as you can see, we've actually pulled out from Hulkenberg there, obviously, of him on that previous lap, just having no pace whatsoever. And we're in 17th, so we're ahead of both Manners, and just behind Sainz. I don't know what happened to Sainz this race. He was way down the field. I don't really quite know why. There was no crash he got into, as far as I know. But Sainz is just in 16th, and we'll see if we can actually retain our 8th place. Although we did pit for the prime tyres this stop, so we won't have the electric pace which this strategy is supposed to provide us. But the prime tyres, you know, a new set of prime tyres is going to be better than a worn set of options, surely. And as you can see, Carlos Sainz is proving that fact, because he's on some worn set of options, going incredibly slowly. And I'll admit, we cut the corner there, hands up, we did. But Sainz is going so slowly, we needed to get past him there. You know, and it was an illegal overtake. The game didn't actually give it an illegal overtake, which was weird. But as you can see, Sainz just peeled off into the pits then, and Hulkenberg was able to just about get past Sainz. So now we're in 10th. Alonso is ahead of us, obviously, because he started on the prime. So that means we should actually end up in 9th place, which means we've only lost 1 place to Kvyat. Now, both Manners, they were hilarious last race with all sorts of incidents they caused. They're really funny this race now, actually, because they double stack their drivers. So as you can see, Mary's in the pits now, and now Stevens he's lost. I mean, what's that, 4-5 seconds from that, and that's ridiculous, really. How Stevens has to wait for Mary. I mean, why couldn't I know the tyre degradation is bad, but Stevens should either just come in a lap earlier or a lap later, really. Why he followed his teammate into the pits is beyond me. Whether that's his fault or the team's fault, I don't know. But anyway, we passed Alonso there. As you can see, Kvyat is just ahead of us. There's no way we're going to make a move on him. He's too far ahead, and he's got a much quicker car. And as you can see, Hamilton is right behind Vettel now. He's able to catch back up to Vettel, also using just the pace of the Mercedes. And as you can see, he's now made the move on Vettel, using DRS and the Mercedes engine. And is Vettel going to make a move? No, it looked like he was going to try and do something, but in the end, nothing. And Hamilton is into first, and you know, I'll tell you now, he drives off into the distance away from Vettel. Anyway, on to lap 21, and we're actually pitting this lap for the option tyres, which the theory being that because we'll be on a new set of option tyres, we're going to be electric in pace. Even though we're still in a McLaren, we're going to be on electric in pace in comparison to the rest of the field, which will be on prime tyres. And obviously Hulkenberg's bargaining on the same thing, apart from the fact actually he was on the option tyres last stint, and now he's on the prime tyres. So we should pull away from Hulkenberg this stop, because, well, I mean, apart from the fact, you've got to bear in mind the Force India is a quicker car. Even the A-Spec, the modified 2014 car, which this is still quicker than a McLaren Honda. So, you know, struggling for traction at the end, at the exit of the pits, because obviously cold tyres, but we should be able to get them up to temperature very quickly. But unfortunately, this free-stop strategy didn't work. As you can see, lap 26, these tyres are starting to go off, and we're in 16th. We're nowhere. Which is a shame, because this strategy had such promise, and it worked for us in China, obviously getting 8th place in, well no, we got 9th place in China, very nearly got 8th, which didn't quite work out. Obviously that was helped by incidents, but it worked well for us last race, and unfortunately it hasn't worked well this race. And Kimi Räikkönen, we're seeing a replay from him now. What is going on here? So Kimi Räikkönen coming round onto the last sector, and he's got an engine blowout. So the leader of the driver's title, as well as, the main man in Finland, has had an engine blowout. And now Hulkenberg has passed us while we were looking at all of that. Hulkenberg passed us. We've repassed him, but look at the tyre graphic there. Our tyres are done, because the problem is with the free-stop strategy is we had to use a scrub set of option tyres. which meant they couldn't last 7 laps like the other 2 sets, despite the fact with much lower fuel. You know, tyre degradation seems to massively outweigh, you know, fuel depletion, which is... I don't quite see how that works, but anyway, it does. It's the game, we don't question it. We're able to just about pull out from Hulkenberg, and as you saw in the back of that replay shot was Lewis Hamilton. Now Lewis Hamilton has already finished the race, he's on a celebratory lap, and he's still caught up to this little gaggle of cars, you know, Button, Hulkenberg and Sainz, which shows just the shocking pace that we had. And Sainz has now got past Hulkenberg, so Hulkenberg has also lost some pace, as Sainz is able to get past the both of us. And now Lewis Hamilton on his celebratory lap, as you can see, he's pumping the air at winning the race, but he's got past Hulkenberg, which is brilliant. Obviously, he's now going to hold up the German. Obviously, it's not for points, but it is for pride to see Button beat Hulkenberg. Obviously, it shows the Brits to be very good. But now, actually, Hamilton is actually passing Button. I don't know what Hamilton's trying to do here. He's on a celebratory lap. But now look what he does. He actually holds up Button. So he's not going for... I don't know what he's going for. He wasn't trying to help out his nation because he's just shoved it right in his face. Hulkenberg was able to get past Button, you know, due to a better drive from the last corner. And that's shocking, really. We lost... You know, it was sure it was a battle for pride, but Hulkenberg passed us there for 16th place, and there you go, Button's looking not happy, as he shouldn't be, with Hamilton not caring about national pride, and you know, and being beaten by Hulkenberg, even though we're ahead of Hulkenberg the whole race, pretty much. There, Hamilton won the race, with Rosberg second and Vettel third, so the Germans did well this race. Bottas fourth, so the Finnish did well despite Raikkonen's retirement. Ricciardo in sixth, which is good for the Australians. And Perez actually got a very good finish for the Force India. As you can see, only one retirement, which is Raikkonen, and Will Stevens actually beat Merry, so we did regain some national pride for the Brits. So now onto the tables and onto the driver standings first. And those race results really did shape up the field. I mean, because Raikkonen has gone from being in a fairly dominant position in the drivers' table to in second, his teammates just overtaken him, obviously Raikkonen retiring and Vettel getting third, and Hamilton is now level on points with Raikkonen, thanks to Hamilton winning this race and, you know, finally recouping the points he's lost early on in the season. And it's the same story for Rosberg, getting second place this race and also recouping the points he missed out from his previous races, where he's got involved in all sorts of incidents and trouble, which meant he's dropped out on a lot of points, but he finally got 18 points this race, which shows that he has genuine pace, and he should catch up to Hamilton and both Ferraris as the season goes on. And on the second half of the drivers' table, it's both Toro Rossos and Hulkenberg, and I haven't included Ericsson, Maldonado, Alonso, Stevens or Merry because they all haven't scored points yet, but as soon as they do I will add them to the table, because I don't really think they deserve to go on the table if they haven't scored points, to be honest. Constructors' table and Ferrari are still in a fairly dominant position, despite Raikkonen retiring this race. Vettel's third place finish meant that Ferrari did still get some decent points this race. Mercedes are just behind in second, although quite away in terms of points, but they've gone up into second and are ahead of Williams purely on a race win count. And Man and Marussia are still the only team not to have scored points, because every other team at some point has scored points. And Man and Marussia are still the only team to have scored points because their pace is shocking. I think even in China we lapped the Manners, I think. Even us in the McLaren Honda lapped the Manners. That's how shocking their pace has been. And that's only in a 50% race as well. Finally onto the Nations table, and Finland are still leading the way despite Raikkonen's retirement. Bottas getting 4th place, and then obviously he slashes points in half, but Bottas still getting 4th place was able to help Finland, which is also helped by the fact that Kvyat and Ricciardo for Russia and Australia respectively didn't have amazing performances, so they didn't score too many points to their countries. And then Germany and Britain, which are the two countries, or the two leading countries with 3 drivers. Obviously the only other one is Spain. But Germany and Britain, which I suppose are the 2 main rivals, I think a win in the championship for either of them is kind of out of the question. But Germany just ahead, which is not that impressive considering you think they don't have to accommodate a McLaren Honda driver or a Manor driver. So really Germany, you know, only 4.3 recurring points ahead is kind of bad for Germany, but the fact is they're still ahead, and at the end of the day that's all that matters. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to leave a like, a comment on what you thought of the racing series. I'll see you guys next time for the start of the European season around my second favourite track on the calendar, Catalonia. So I'll see you then.